Hello, welcome to Hook Legends, and thanks for watching this video. In today's video, we're going to do a walk around of what I call my Crappie destroyer. I have two boats, a pontoon boat for bigger lakes and this boat for my medium-sized lakes. But before I get started, I want to say if you have not subscribed and you like these videos, please subscribe and click the like button. Make sure you click the notification bell so you will be alerted when future videos are released. Now, this is one of the few videos I've done so far from land. I've done a couple, but not a whole lot. Most of my videos I'm out fishing and putting fish in the boat because that's what I like doing. But I wanted to respond to some of our subscribers, so you could do they wanted to see a walk around of the boat to see some of the features and how I have this boat set up. Now, at first look, this looks like a plain and simple boat, but as we walk through it, you're going to see this boat has a lot of hidden features to support the different types of crappie fishing that I do. So let's go ahead, let's jump in, and let's get started. Okay, so let's get started. The first feature I want to show you on this boat is this, is the jack. So now this jack comes in handy. I like a jack with a wheel on it so I can roll it around and move it around a little bit. Also, you saw the lead-in video, and on the lead-in video you saw that I lifted the tongue of the trailer up with my pickup truck. So I purchased a truck. I wanted to make sure I had that feature, so if I ever got too old to lift the tongue of the trailer by myself, I would be able to use the truck to lift it up. So now, in all honesty, I've only pulled this, but this is just the second time I've had this truck connected to this boat. If you hang around towards the end of the video, if there's enough time, I will tell you why. So anyway, that's the trailer jack. The next feature I would like to show you is the rope. Now, I don't like a whole lot of clutter in the boat. I like to be able to, move around pretty freely. I don't like redundancy. So as a result of that, the rope here that I have tied into the eye boat, on one end of it, I have this little I have this clamp here. See that? I have that clamp. And once I get inside of the boat, I clamp it here to the anchor. So it serves two purposes. And I'm gonna go ahead and take it back loose. And there's a cleat. Where is it? There's a cleat right. I hope this is getting it. But there's a cleat right here in this corner that we tie it around. Once we're out in position on the lake. So the next feature that I want to talk about is the Gunnel channel. Now the Gunnel channel is you can see it here, and you see I have these little aluminum pieces kind of attached in there. Now you can see it runs all the way around the perimeter of the boat. I mean, it's not at the back, it's not at the front, but you can see it here. There's a good shot of it. Now, once again, this is an Express 1650 DB, which I think the DB stands for duck boat. I mean, it's a real boat. It's a real nice boat, and it's built like a tank. Can't remember if I said this earlier, but there was I got a great deal on this boat. Someone picked it up for their son to go duck fishing in, and the minimum horsepower engine that was required in that particular lake just didn't do anything for this boat. This boat is rated for a 40 horsepower engine, so anything less than probably 15, well, 15 is not going to be anything less than probably 25, maybe 20, I don't know, you're just not going to you're not going to get great results out of it. So now back to the Gunnel. On this Gunnel allows me to put lots of accessories, and you're going to see as we go around and I talk about the various things on here, you're going to see how I use that Gunnel. Now, how I made this Gunnel, somewhere you may be able to find something to fit into this Gunnel. I wasn't able to, so I took some flange bolts for toilets. And I'm sorry about that noise, there's an airplane flying over here, but I was able to take these flange bolts here from toilets and shave them down on the long sides just a little bit, and then they slid right into that Gunnel. And then I just took some aluminum tubing, drill holes in them, and put some wing nuts on it. So these come in handy. You can loosen them up and slide it up and down for your accessories. You can also see that I have paddle holders here. There's one. There's a paddle holder here, and they're also over there on the other side of the boat. So those are great for securing your paddles, so you don't step on them, trip on them. It puts them on the side and gets them up and out of your way. So the next thing I would like to talk about in this walk around are the lights and the light poles that I use. So if you look here, you see, matter of fact, I go ahead and see if I can prop it up so you can see it. Oh, that's kind of tight. But these are the lights I use. These lights are absolutely great. There's one here and there's one on the opposite side of the boat. These are white lights. Probably if they were green, maybe they could keep some bugs off of you, but this is what I've been using ever since I purchased this boat. They make a nice white light down in the water, and I can tell you, I can't say which is better, white, green, or whatever, but I can definitely tell you this is what worked for me. I have caught a lot of crappie using these particular lights. So I want to go ahead and walk around when I talk about. Matter of fact, let me flip the switch here a little bit so you can see what the lights look like on, and I may even try to see if I can. Well, I pulled it too far. It's a two-way switch. I pulled it 2 spaces when I should have pulled it 1. There we go. Okay, now you can see that the lights are on. May even see if I can get a night shot to kind of supplement this particular picture so you can see what it looks like at night. So let me turn that off. And as you can see, the switch for that, I have it back here in the back of the boat underneath the seat. Another thing here I want to show you, and I'm trying to hold this camera and operate multiple things here at the same time, but I'm going to pick up a pole. And you can see this pole has an eye bolt in it, right? And if you look over here on this side of the boat, and this is some of the features I said that it's kind of like hidden features that's easy to overlook. Let me move this a little bit. We've got some wind out here, so I hope the wind noise isn't interfering too much. And I can slide this. These are basically just conduit pipe clamps. See if I can get a good look at them. These are just conduit pipe clamps there that I have drilled in with a little piece of rubber to make sure it kind of holds in there a little snug. And up here to the top, you see the eye bolt. Let me go over here, different angles so you can see a little bit better. You see that eye bolt? Now what I do is I hang the lantern at night when I'm fishing. I hang a lantern. Sometimes, I mean most of the time, those lights on the side, 90% of the time. Haven't actually used this pole and this eye bolt here for a while, but it's better to have it and don't need it than to need it and don't have it. So I think that wraps up as far as my light situation goes. Back here in the back, I also have a bilge pump. And it pumps, it's brand new as a matter of fact, and that bilge pump here, it kicks out quite a bit of water, comes up through this hose and pops out back here in the back of the boat. So that covers the lights and the light posts. Now I want to talk to you about rod racks and rod holders. Once again, especially since I'm standing right here near it and close by, you can see again that using that gunnel that I told you about, that gunnel track, I made a piece of pipe here based on how I described it before, and I think these are Atwood, I believe it is. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Mounts with the wing nut, and also these rod holders. They kind of keep my rods up and out of the way. You want to make sure you get your rods up and out of the way so you don't break them. Rod tips are fragile. Rods are not cheap. Protect your rods. Use a rod holder like this or something else, and it has a little rubber pieces here to make sure when you're driving up and down the road that they don't bounce up and down. Now I want to get into some of the other features here. I want to talk more now about the rod holders themselves. You know, there's several ways you can spider rig. The more typical, when you mention spider rigging, I think what comes to mind most of the time is 8 rods hanging off the front of the boat, maybe 2 people sitting there side by side. And that's how I fish on my pontoon boat. But in this particular boat, now this is a pretty wide boat. I mean, this is not a small boat. This is not a small boat by any stretch of the imagination, but we tend to just let one person fish up here in the front and another person fish in the back. This particular rod system that I have here, I just mounted these. Give you a good close-up. I drilled 2 holes here. It has a screw going through there. It has a nut underneath, and it gives me the ability to come in here and change those wing nuts right there. I can take these wing nuts and loosen them up and change the direction on these rods. I can have this one maybe pointing directly off the front. The one opposite over there could be pointed directly off the front, and the 2 right here pointed off the side. So it gives the fisherman in the front an opportunity to fish with 2, and an opportunity for the person in the back, to fish with 4 rods or poles. And the person in the back, you can also do exactly the same thing. Now, I want to show you some more versatility here. Not only are these fully adjustable, left and right, but if you look, I have these elongated bolts on all of them. That gives me the ability to loosen them and move them around. But this is another rod holder here. And as a matter of fact, let me give you an idea of how versatile this is. I want to show you the different rod positions allowed by this kind of setup. As you can see now, I have a rod straight out over that way, and I have one over here that's straight out. So that gives me about, the boat's about, I'm gonna just guess right now, 5 plus 6, that gives me about a 16 feet, if I'm adding this up correctly, span if I want to troll these rods with jigs. Matter of fact, this particular rod has a jig on it, so it gives me a lot of flexibility to be able to troll. You want to make sure what your rod holders that you have are strong enough to be able to support fishing poles. I fish a lot with the old school, we used to call them cane poles, now they call them brim busters or fiberglass poles, but my preference is the ones that are 15 feet. And you need something here strong enough to be able to support those. So I can have 2 on this side and put 2 over here on this side. Now, I want to show you another type of setup that I have. You can take these 2 and fish them like that. See that? So I have one straight up, and if you look at some of my videos, you'll see that I'm using all of these methods. Sometimes I'm usually facing the port side of the boat. So sometimes you'll see I'm jigging, I'm trolling with this one straight out and this one straight up in the air like that. You'll also notice sometimes in some of my videos, you'll see that I'm trying to operate with one hand here. There we go. You'll see that sometimes I'll have 2 coming off the back of the boat. So I hope you can see there's one here and there's one directly over there on that other side, and they're both at pretty much the same angle. So gives you it just gives you a whole lot of versatility fishing in this boat. So now I want to show you something else. You can see that we also have, I made a kind of hard to explain, I made a H style PVC frame to go underneath this seat, which also allows me the ability to drop rods into those. There's one here, there's one there. If we walk around the boat on this side, you'll see there's one here and there's one there. So that gives me the ability to put 4 in there. Sometimes maybe I want to face the front of the boat and troll, and I just look up over my head and see the rod tips. Sometimes I may want to turn around backwards and troll and just use this one and that one. So it gives me a lot of versatility for doing that. So have an anchor here. Forgot to mention that. Have an anchor here in the back of the boat. I like to use anchors when I find fish. I like to be able to sit there on the spot. I want to try to get some of the push pin anchor poles at some point for when I'm fishing in shallow water for spawning fish. I can just push them in. I think it'll be a lot less physically taxing than lifting anchors up and down all the time. So I also have kind of an oddball rod here. Now, rod holder, I've used this rod holder for many different things. Now it's adjustable. Sometimes I put what I call a bonus pole or a bonus rod, and just stick something in here and hang it down back here behind the boat. Sometimes I'll use this when I use a GoPro camera. I will actually use this rod holder, and I have a pole. Don't have it here with me, but I have a painter's pole, an extendable, adjustable painter's pole that I can stick in this rod holder also for fishing. Now, there were one or two people who asked me about how did I get my cameras? How could I turn it so quickly and get it in focus and framed? This pole here is permanently fixed. I have a tripod head, a fluid tripod head that I screw down on this, and I actually have the handle for turning it back towards me. As a matter of fact, here's a tripod here, and there's a similar head, not the one that I use when I'm out fishing, but there's a similar head there. And I just take that and I screw it down on here, and that's how I can turn it real quickly and keep it in frame. And I also have a camera where I can actually see the video that I'm actually recording with the screen that's turned towards me. I have another one of those metal poles up here in the front of the boat. Some of my videos, you'll notice, is actually being filmed from the front of the boat, and there's the pole for it. It just uses a regular old, I guess, pipe. I don't know what you call it. It's a flange coupling, and that pole just screws down into it. Now, when somebody else is in the boat, I just unscrew it and put that in the back of my truck. The one at the back of the boat is fixed. The one up here, I can screw it in and I can screw it out. This boat also has a little storage up front here that I rarely use. That everything I have is in portable containers to try to keep the weather out of it. Now, there were a couple of pole holders here that I forgot to tell you about, or rod holders. Sometimes I may just want to be facing frontwards in the boat. I fish a lot of different ways. And also, depending on which way the wind is blowing, I'll position the boat different ways. So there you go. Have two. There's a rod holder here, and there's one over there to match it. And you can hope you can get a good look here to see how those are pointing. So I can sit there in that seat, look forward to see where I'm going, and look up high, and I can see these rod tips, even though I'm trolling back behind the boat. So I'm going to need to put the camera down for just a second to show you the next feature while I set up this umbrella. So give me just a second. Okay, as you can see, I have an umbrella there in the boat. Fishing with an umbrella allows the temperature underneath that umbrella to vary by as much as 10 or 15 degrees. I mean, obviously, it depends on whether the wind's blowing, a lot of other conditions. But if you're going to get out, and if you're going to be a year-round crappie fisherman and fish during the middle of the summer like I do, you're going to need one of these. Make sure. Now, I made a special. The Jig Master and I put this together. We made this special setup here to hold that umbrella. If you do something like this, make sure you put some type of chain on it, and so you can clamp it down, because if you don't, the wind's going to take it. And trust me, I've seen it. When that umbrella is upside down on top of the water and the wind blowing, your trolling motor is going to have to step up to the plate real good in order to catch it. Lucky for us, it ran up against some tree limbs on the side of the lake, and we were able to track it down. So now there's a rod holder here. Some of these, I'm sorry, that could be used for a rod holder, but that's an umbrella holder. But also back here in the back, the same rod holders and the same gizmos we had back here, we can put the umbrella there. And once again, you want to wrap it around that and strap it down real good so that your umbrella does not blow away. If you're going to fish in the midsummer, you definitely have to have that. Okay. I forgot to touch on the trolling motor. Let me touch on it briefly. This is a 40-pound thrust trolling motor. Now, this trolling motor in the small lake that I'm fishing in is sufficient. This is a big boat. When the wind blows it, you need all of the power that you can get. So this trolling motor is sufficient for this boat and the lake that I'm fishing in. In the lake that I fish where I use my pontoon boat, this trolling motor probably would not have enough thrust to it in order for you to maintain against the wind in this particular boat. So here's my setup for my fish finder. I happen to have a Garmin unit. I don't have it connected at this time. You can go out and look at some of my other videos, so if you want to see the actual unit itself. Now what I did was I bought this mounting frame, and you can see the round mount underneath. So I have one Garmin depth finder, but what we do is move it from one boat to the other. So this boat has, where is it? Oh, there it is. I was trying to figure out where my transducer was. I forgot. On this particular boat, it's down on the bottom of the trolling motor. On my other boat, it's hanging off the back of the boat. So this allows us to be portable. You know, we didn't want to buy 2 units, and we just take that, and I keep it in a backpack. And whenever we go down to Lake Taquin, we just take it and hook it up down there. So I think I've covered most of the important features of this particular boat. If you have any questions, please leave it in the comment section below. Alright, we got a nice one here. One nice crappie to go in the cooler.